Oh my god, I have so many things open. So many things open. So many things I'm open. Oh my god, I started off with such a sad song. Okay, it's all set. Hello, welcome back. Welcome back, you guys. Volume 3, Part 2. Super excited to get into it. As we can all tell, I'm really liking this new version of Klein. So we're gonna keep on going with that. Hello. Dude, where have you been? Sorry. Okay, before we do anything, I'm gonna start. Harsh, I saw you come in the chat. Everything was going great. We had 2 full hours, 6 chapters. I want to hear nothing. No minimal lag, no lag. I don't want to hear no lag. I want nothing out of you this entire stream. In fact, you're lucky to even be here, okay? Count your blessings. Okay. Oh, thank you. I wear this necklace. I got this necklace like 3 years ago and it went on and I've never taken it off. I think the day that, like, the only way this is coming off is if it breaks. And the day that it breaks, yeah, I don't want to see what I'll do at that point. Okay, I need to do like a nice, like I feel like I need to do a better song than this. Because this is just like a little, it's not really the songs I want to do. It's a little sad. It's giving me PTSD flashbacks, you know? We'll do something like this, and then we'll get it going. Okay, let's get into it, because we're on chapter 490, Warning of a Former Sailor, which I'm super excited about. I'm so excited to see Klein get into this more, like, outward arc. Okay. Oh no, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. Honestly, I was gonna watch, so my plans tonight, I was gonna watch Worlds, and then my friend ended up having, like my roommate who I watch it with, she ended up having to do something, so we can't watch it tonight, so we're just gonna have to watch it tomorrow. So, plan cleared up, it was perfect. Now we can do this. Let's get into it though, because I'm really excited. Starting off with chapter 490. Where were we? So, the lobby of the Pritz Harbor Ticket Company was rather spacious, with 7 ticketing windows, but there were already a dozen or so people lined up in front of each. Klein took a glance and didn't directly go to the one with... Oh, also, is Kami in the chat? Because I remember seeing something about how music had to change in like 10 chapters. We might hit that chapter. If he is, if he's not, we'll see. Maybe one of you guys will know. Klein took a glance and didn't directly go to the one with the fewest people. Instead, he took 2 steps and to the right and arrived in front of an erect brown board. Music change at 4:99. Okay, perfect. There were many pieces of white paper pasted on a wooden board announcing all the information about the recent week's passenger ships, including their destinations, the ports they passed, and the price of different cabins. Before Klein could take a closer look, a staff member came over and drew a red circle on the second-class cabin of one of the marking, and it was single phrase, sold out. So popular, Klein sighed. Of course, Prince Harbor is the kingdom's largest port. Countless of people pass through here to the southern continent and the colonial islands to seek out opportunities. A middle-aged man who was standing next to the wooden board replied in a clearly boastful manner. Here to have someone tell you, but perfect. He was wearing a black bonnet and a black and white checkered uniform, similar to that of the police, but he had no epaulets. All he had was a seagull badge hanging from his chest, exactly identical to the logo of the Prince Harbor Ticket Company. The middle-aged man's face, hands, and all of his exposed skin were bronze in color and rather rough. It was as if he'd been exposed to the sea breeze and the sun for many years, to the point of giving people the feeling that he had salt in the wrinkles. Find the guard in the lobby if there's a dispute. This should be on guard. Klein remembered the things he had to pay attention to at the door. He didn't mind that the other party had taken the initiative to talk to him. He smiled and said, "You seem to understand this port very well." Hearing this question, the middle-aged man replied quite smugly, "I was once a sailor with the Kingdom's Navy, and their main base was located in Prince Harbor's Oak Island. I served for 15 years and spent a long time in the sea around here. If it wasn't for East Balham's war destroying my health, then I could be a sailor for another 10 years. I know this port as well as I know my wife's body." I bet he does. A little cultured, but also a little vulgar, Klein casually chatted with him, having the intention of asking about news on the sea. "You became a guard here after retiring?" "No, I was crammed into night school for 2 whole years as a student and as a gatekeeper, holy lord of storms. Can you imagine the scene of someone my age reciting with a bunch of teenagers, and they know and remember words faster than I do." The guard showed an expression that showed how unbearable it was to reflect on the past. As he spoke, he patted his thigh and sighed. "Unfortunately, my knees can't stand wet weather. Otherwise, I would be part-time teacher at night. Those kids will make you feel young, but I won't deny that it's because I want to earn more money. When you have a wife and 4 children, he really does know his wife's body. Good for his wife. You have to realize that you have to support your family. Sir, you talk a little too much. Maybe that's why the ticket company hired you as a guard." Klein smiled and didn't continue with the man's topic. "I just saw the things to take note of at the door and found the canned wolffish are not permitted to be opened here. Frankly, what is canned wolffish?" Interesting. Frankly speaking, I've never heard of such a thing. But yes, same Klein. The guard's expression suddenly became complicated. He pinched his nose and said, "It's a food that's popular in places like the East Coast or the Fasac and Gargus archipelago. It's wolffish pickled in salt, but it retains the blood and the smell. The smell is very, very stimulating. It stinks and it's disgusting. It turns out to be a food of unknown origins." Klein laughed and said, "But I don't think anyone would specially eat canned food while waiting in line to buy a ticket, right? No, you don't understand that feeling. Perhaps you will one day." I really hope not. The guard showed a look of lingering fear. "There was once a barbarian from the north who came here to buy a ticket. As there were many people in line up in front, causing the hall to look like a barrel filled with fish, he became very anxious, so he opened a can of wolffish. In less than 10 seconds, only he and a few guys were left in the lobby. This is a biological weapon, an ordinary version of my biological poison bottle," Klein laughed. In the end, he successfully bought a ticket, and a new point to take note of was added outside. The result wasn't as he expected. The lady and the gentleman in charge of the ticket sales also escaped. "As you know, the brains of barbarians are even worse than that of curly-haired baboons," the guard chuckled. "When I was a sailor, there was a rumor at sea that a group of pirates controlled a merchant ship from Rolls. Ah, that's a city on the east coast of Fasac. In short, the pirates eagerly opened their spoils, but who knew that they were barrels filled to the brim with wolffish? Can you guess the outcome? They fainted, vomited, and lost their fighting power, and the crew received their bounty reward." "Good story." Klein tried not to laugh. He returned his gaze to the piece of paper on the wooden board and searched for information for a ship scheduled to depart on the 5th of January. As a professional, he had previously divined which date was suitable for setting sail on this week. It came out to be the 5th and 8th, and among the passenger ships that headed to the Roasted Archipelago, the St. Harve and the White Agate suited him the most. Isn't the White Agate We've heard that ship name before, haven't we? There are still tickets and the prices are about the same. £4 for third class, £10 for second class, and £35 for first class. People who depend on the sea for survival more or less believe in the Lord of Storms, even in countries like Intis and Fasak. There are fishermen and crew who secretly believe in the forbidden deity in a bid to be safe out in sea. The name St. Arv originates from the Church of Storms. It has a certain background. Klein thought it over. He was inclined to choose the White Agate. We've heard that ship name before. Not in a rush to make a decision, he turned to look at the guard. Do you know is that? No. Is it Alger's ship? No. The guard immediately smiled. Sir, you have a good eye. The White Agate is a steam-powered ship, but it also remains a sail. Its maximum speed is 16 knots. Also, the captain is very experienced. He was once a boatswain of the Royal Navy's William what one's the V? Is V5? I think so. William V. No, it should be the Imperial Navy. The king has always claimed that he obtained the title of Emperor in Balam. In the Imperial Navy, no matter how outstanding or excellent that average person is, he can at most become a boatswain. He cannot be an officer unless you can satisfy your superior, regardless of what method is used. Only then can you be recommended to the Prince Naval Academy as a reserve officer. This is how Elland was forced to leave the Navy and ended up joining the White Agate, where he slowly became captain one step at a time. I suggest you choose the first class cabin. That way you'll have room for 3 or 4 servants, an attendant who has received etiquette lessons, an appointed chef who has excellent culinary skills, a quiet restaurant where you can enjoy the scenery, a special room for smoking cigars, and a place where you can gather and play cards. Hearing the guard's detailed explanation, Klein couldn't help but feel suspicious. Noticing his expression, the guard smiled in embarrassment. Elland was my boss in the past. He would often treat me to drinks and ask me to help him promote the first-class cabin. But you can rest assured that everything I say is true. This really isn't problematic. It's a problem with money, Klein silently said to himself. Having made up his mind, he asked after some deliberation, Sir, what advice do you have for a maritime adventurer? To suit Garamond Sparrow's identity, Klein had modified his image slightly to make himself seem cooler and sharper. Yeah, he did. Adventurer, the guard unconsciously raised his voice. Many people in the queue turned to look at Klein. Based on his spiritual intuition, Klein's instincts traced a line of sight. He and the man in the 30s wearing a black top hat, he had a boorish face, weather-beaten wrinkles, and strong but not tall body, pale blue eyes that had experienced a lot. Another adventurer, Klein and the man looked away just as their eyes met. At that moment, the guard squeezed out a smile and said, I'm sorry, I'm a bit too sensitive on the term adventurer. In my opinion, this is an equivalent to a fugitive. Pretty much. A sea villain and a person who goes against his pledges. No, I'm not talking about you. You want sincere advice? You have to remember 3 things. First, I do not provoke pirates. Second, do not provoke pirates. Third, do not provoke pirates. Unless you're a member of the Navy or the church, do not go against the pirates. Don't be fooled by the enthusiasm of the island girls. They're either pirates or want you to take them to Backland. It's not entirely their fault. In order to cheat them out of their bodies, many sailor, crews, and passengers paint them a very attractive metropolis and very beautiful life, then kick them out of their beds and abandon them, leaving them in their original spots. Oh, what a bunch of vile people. In this era, people who live on the sea can't be too kind. Is the order at sea that bad? Pirates are this rampant? Klein nodded and said, Thank you. I know what to do now. He now becomes a pirate. Saying this, he walked over to the line with the least number of people. Behind it, the guard shouted, And the legends of treasure at sea are all fake. After buying a second-class ticket for the White Agate, Klein returned to the hotel and waited patiently for a night to descend. In the process, he had enjoyed the most famous fried fish in the Prince Harbor. He thought that the taste was pretty good, but he definitely couldn't accept eating it all the time. When he was close to 8 o'clock, he went above the gray fog, holding the badge from Lenibus in one hand and writing the corresponding sentence in the other. The situation of the gathering this time. Tick tock, tick tock. When his pocket watch struck 8, he closed his eyes, leaned back into his chair, and began to recite the divination statement. He had reason to believe that when the door of the gathering opened, he would be able to divine something above the gray fog with the aid of this medium which he had locked onto the location. If he failed before becoming, nothing had happened yet, but this was different. Things were happening now, and Klein had the right medium. Soon Clyde entered the gray, blurry dream world. He saw the Tussock River flowing quietly, a wide river valley on the two sides, and about a dozen people in different positions. They were shrouded in thin light, vanishing instinctively or illusory. One of them had black hair and green eyes. He looked quite handsome, and he was a familiar face to Klein. Leonard Mitchell. Yes. Chapter 491. I'm so excited for this arc. Like, I am actually so excited for this arc. Oh my god, this is such a long... chapter. I'm going to center it and make it look all pretty. This is a really long chapter title, but it's also really good. There you go. Okay. I think he should... Okay. Chapter 491. The Sherlock Moriarty in the investigation report. Leonard, Klein thought... Oh, because I guess, like, Klein really hasn't seen Leonard yet. He's only... Because, like, when that whole thing happened, Klein wasn't... He had already gone away before Leonard had shown up. And then also it's probably just like confusing to see Leonard. Klein thought for a moment that he was mistaken. However, the blurring caused by the rays of light wasn't that serious. Being familiar with Leonard, he was able to quickly confirm his previous judgment. In the time it took to take a break, Leonard disappeared, the light disappeared, and the valley returned to its midwinter silence. The scene which Klein saw in dream shattered as a result. He opened his eyes and placed the badge he had obtained from Lenibus on the surface of the long bronze table. Is it really Leonard, or a faceless disguise as Leonard? Klein considered the flip of a gold coin. His spirituality had told him through the medium that it was Leonard, his teammate from the Tingen Nighthawks team. Is he an investigator sent by the Church of the Goddess for the gathering, or is he risking his life to find opportunity to find a revenge target? While keeping the Nighthawks in the dark, Klein muttered to himself in suspicion. It was hard to make an accurate judgment, and without any leads, his divination couldn't provide him with any revelations. After a few seconds of silence, Klein gave his self-deprecating smile as he drew a crimson moon on the chest. I wish him the best of luck. May the goddess watch over him. Klein no longer bothered with the problem, and he planned on understanding more about the gathering before deciding whether or not to participate in the future or to warn Leonard Mitchell anonymously. Backland in a secret room in the basement of the same cathedral. Ikanzer took off his hat, pressed down his fluffy but not so soft hair, and sat at the first seat to the left. Then he took out an ancient silver mirror of a Rhodes and the inner custom-made pocket in his clothes and placed it in front of him. To his right, across him, diagonally across him, were the machinery hive mind deacons and the captains of all whom had been summoned by the member of the Divine Council. The Archbishop of Backland, Hormac Hayden, and for a meeting. The white-robed bishop looked like an ordinary man sitting calmly at the end. Seeing that everybody had arrived, he looked around, softly said, "Let's start with Ikanzer." Oh, what happened? Okay, it's back. Okay. My whole thing just messed up. Oh, okay, here it is. Okay, let's start with the Kanzer. Tell me the sequence about the investigation over the past few days. Kanzer Bernard pushed his hair while flipping through the thick document file, and he reported in a concise manner. Your Grace, we were in charge of Sherlock Moriarty. After a careful investigation with the aid of Beyond Our Means, we confirmed that he was pulled into the matter. Prior to the incident, there were no evidence that he knew of Prince Edisac's problem. He and the dead Talim Dumont were friends, and he indirectly fulfilled some of the tasks entrusted to him by the prince. But there weren't many problems. At most, he had falsely made some fraudulent claims for his expense. At this point, Kanzer suddenly felt a little worried because Sherlock Moriarty was also an informant for the Machinery Hive Men, and his expenses here were likely to be somewhat extravagant. In any case, his job as an informant was very effective and very outstanding, enough to offset the lot of problems, and he had become an informant for long. The money involved was mostly just from commissions. Kanzer exhaled slowly and continued to report. Our conclusion is that he considered an innocent party, and that there is no hidden plot behind him. He only keenly noticed a danger of Red Rose Manor, but that is a typical example of coming to the correct conclusion from an incorrect deduction. He was afraid of the royal family's internal strife, and as for that reason, he began slow in his work and didn't do any substantial investigations on this. He had reported it to us. Unfortunately, he still failed to avoid the matter, but he was lucky enough. He mentioned that the descendant of death happened to be wandering the vicinity of Red Rose Manor at the time. Hence, he was rescued from the perilous situation when the meteorite fell. That was still crazy that Zangwell was just so backed into a corner that he was like, you know what? There's actually nothing else I can do here other than throwing a meteorite on you, causing a natural disaster. That's the way we're gonna go out with this. The signs at the scene are ample proof of how terrifying that strike was. It's likely due to 0-08. Klein mentioned the existence of Zangwell and 0-08 in his letter, asked for whether or not he knew the former Archbishop of the Grade 0 sealed artifact. No one was concerned about it because he was... we'll probably stop. We'll do I want to get to, because if the music changes at 4:99, I'm assuming something big's going to happen at 4:99. So depending on the time, we're either going to stop right before I have to change the music, or we'll read those chapters and then I'll stop right after. Yeah, no. Wasn't even backed in a corner. He was just over Clyde. He was just over that shit. He's like, dude, you were supposed to be dead last volume. You're back in your little disguise. I'm done. I'm done with it. As for matters regarding Grade 0 and Grade 1 sealed artifact, the 7 Orthodox churches constantly shared information of the rough situation and each other. The numbers were shared and there was no repetition. Finishing volume. 24-hour stream. It actually just keeps going. 24 hours. If you guys want to come back, you can. We're actually just going to finish all of book 1. We're not stopping until it's done. However, we haven't been able to grasp the entire situation. There are 3 matters that aren't confirmed. First, 2-111 indicates that after Sherlock Moriarty fled into the forest, he didn't immediately escape far away. Instead, he stayed on the spot and prayed to someone. Second, it's still unknown when he and Isaac Eggers got to know each other. Third, it's still unknown how he escaped the underground ruins. It's likely that he could have done so with his strength, and in this process, he had even destroyed the descent ritual of the Aurora Order. Kanzer finally concluded. 2-111 referred to the Magic Mirror roads. Hormick laughed after he listened to the recount and muttered, fraudulent claims of expenses. He then cleared his throat. In any case, Sherlock Moriarty is a hero of Black... I read it wrong, and I read it as, Hero Black... I don't know why, but I read Hero Black Bandit, and I was like, cool, when did we find this out? What chapters or what portion am I missing? Is a hero of Blackland. If he hadn't stopped the ritual in time, and if he had been frightened at the moment and he had chose to flee, then most of us wouldn't be sitting here. Moreover, he has also displayed his faith in God and his friendliness towards us. As long as there isn't too much of a problem with him, then we can pretend that we don't know anything about his tiny flaws and secrets. Your Grace, this is what we are thinking as well. Ikanzer heaved a sigh of relief and said, I guess his prayers in the woods, including the ritual of blowing the copper whistle, were to get in touch with Azek Eggers, but the effect of this and speed can be different. In such a critical situation, the only thing he could do was to try to save himself, which is something that we deduced from the follow-up process. Apart from trying to save himself, he couldn't write his will. Another Mashivir Hamine deacon quit before he immediately reported the portion he was responsible for. We haven't found the underground room Sherlock Moriarty described, even when the help of 2-111 were still temporarily unavailable to grasp the location of the royal family's high sequence beyonders on that very day. It can be confirmed that the Church of the Evernight received the information first. This came from a special channel of Earl Hall, but of the specific situation is unknown. Most of the forces in the Aurora Order and Backland have been eliminated by us. The Nighthawks and the Mandated Puncher, however, I suspect that they have some hidden strengths. Clock the comment, thank you. And just so we're aware, I'm doing this for the people. Me having no life is a sacrifice I'm making for you. Remember that next time you want to comment something like that. Praise the Fool, praise Dara. Most of the forces in the Aurora Order in Backland have been eliminated by us. The Nighthawks and the Mandated Punishers, however, I suspect that they still have some hidden strengths. At the time of the incident, Sherlock Moriarty mentioned that Trissy was heading to Backland, but no one has seen her since. According to Sherlock Moriarty, she was a key figure and was renamed Trissy Cheek. It cannot be determined what method the Church of Evernight used to capture the demoness of despair and the butler Funko results via divination. Tell me that they're still alive, but they aren't free. No, this is actually I'm not gonna lie, I really didn't. But now I do have a life. This Lord of Mysteries is my life. I had a little thing, and then I filled it with pain and sorrow, and sometimes entertainment and enjoyment, but mainly this. After a few seconds of silence, he opened his eyes and slowly said, "Put all errors into finding Trissy Cheek, if she's still alive. Pass me all the problems where divination has failed to provide any effective revelation. The Church has a saint who is good at this, although it is not necessarily more effective than 2-111. As for the surveillance and investigation of the royal family high sequence beyonders, it can be tabled that there is no need to worry. They've always known what we've been doing. It's also a form of warning. Continue the search for the underground ruins and report to the Evernight and Storm churches. Ikanzer asked 2-111 how Sherlock Moriarty escaped to the ruins. Just put that man through a death sentence right there. As well as when he got to know Isaac Eggers. Double team, death sentence and waiting trial, Guantanamo Bay. Ikanzer looked at the Archbishop, then at his colleagues before gritting his teeth and said, "Yes, Your Grace." He was sadly convinced that his legends were about to spread from just a few machinery hagmine teams that he was in charge of to all of beyonders of the Church of God and Steam in Backland. After a very well-rehearsed process, he opened his mouth and said, "Honorable Rhodes, my question is, when did Sherlock Moriarty get to know Isaac Eggers?" The silver mirror, which seemed to have eyes on both sides, suddenly started to glow with an aqueous light, quickly forming a scene. Sherlock Moretti stood in a room, watching a rat with a rotting belly burrow into a hole in the wall. Behind him was old Coiler and the owner of the budget hotel. He got to know Isaac Eggers while completing the bounty mission for him. That mission was issued by MI9, which originated from the Continental conflict. Akanzer interpreted the scene, which that he chose to answer the corresponding questions. He held his breath as he waited for Rhodes to give a soul-piercing question. As expected, he saw the bright red words, "Do you know the feeling of trying your best to win the favor of someone, but only..." Do you know the feeling of trying your best to win the favor of someone, but only to end up being abandoned without any progress? This question... And then he goes, "This question isn't sharp enough. It's unlike a Rhodes' usual style." Oh my god. Dude. No, W. Rhodes in the chat. That's crazy. Akanzer suddenly felt that the blood on the mirror seemed to lack its usual horror and bloody sense. It appeared somewhat weak. He didn't bother to think about why and immediately opened his mouth and answered yes. You want to know why it wasn't like as crazy? Probably because the damage was inside. She didn't need to show it outwardly. She knew that cut deep. Congratulations, you got it right. Congratulations, you're gonna die alone. A new line of text appeared on the surface of the silver mirror. Its color was somewhat pale. 5th of January, 9 a.m. With a gray scarf around his neck, Klein arrived at Rose Wharf with his suitcase and cane. The white agate was docked there, unusually large compared to the height of a human. It was said to be capable of ferrying hundreds of passengers. It had the rich characteristic of the age, with its chimney sails, its 12 cannons on both sides of the ship, necessary for defending against pirates and other piers. Under Captain Ellen Cagg's arrangement, the chosen stocky sailor and crew lined up at the mouth of the gangway. Some even deliberately revealed their legitimate revolvers, rifles, and knives. This gave the passengers on board of the boat a greater sense of security. They were no longer afraid of the journey that would take them 9 days to complete. Klein stood below, looking up, and climbed up to the hanging ladder, the undulating blue water. "My travel begins." He took a step forward and sighed silently. Chapter 492, Adventure. Oh my god, I'm so excited. And the music changed perfectly as I wrote this. Yeah. As soon as he stepped onto the deck, and before he could enter the cabin, Klein saw a figure moving through the crowd towards him through the corner of his eye. He looked over his shoulder with an air of indifference, but hidden vigilance, and he saw a man in his 30s wearing a black half-top hat and trench coat at the same color. The other party had a withered face, looking boorish but extremely masculine. His light blue eyes didn't contain a smile, as if they were immersed in many past events. He looks a little familiar. He's the guy I noticed at the tickets office yesterday. He seems to be an adventurer as well. Is Klein about to get attached to another... Sorry, not Klein. Am I about to get attached to another character that's gonna suffer a horrific death, and then I'm gonna have to sit here in like 2 weeks crying like a big baby because this person ended up dying? And then they have some really awful catchphrase at the end, or they do like a little wink or try and smoke a cigarette, and it's just really traumatic. I put the wrong one. Thank you. We won't confirm or deny. Don't worry, I actually don't need you to confirm anything, okay? I probably don't need you to confirm anything. I expect nothing less. He looked over his shoulder with an air of indifference, but hidden vigilance as he saw the man. He was actually wearing a trench coat at sea in January. He's quite strong. While lifting his cane with ease and pointing diagonally downwards, Klein said with a smile, "Good morning, we meet again." It was like he was greeting an old friend. Motherfucker! I wonder if Cuttlefish, like, while he was writing it, he knew and he was like, but that's also what I'm saying. Okay, see, this is also what I'm saying is, like, things are kind of repeating. Is like, book 1, we had someone who died that was really tragic, and well, I guess you kind of have to at the end of these, but yeah. The boorish man, however, wasn't surprised. He stopped and nodded in a somewhat reserved manner, saying, "Cleves, a former adventurer. Mate, are you in the same trade? I thought you knew yesterday." Gairman Sparrow, Klein responded with a smile. He didn't pass his cane to his left hand because he didn't intend to shake Cleves' hand. Don't shake his hand. Don't do it. Don't do it. Harsh. I don't even know what to say about that one. First you have to, break my stream, and now you have to break my heart? Goddamn. Klein traced where he was pointing and saw nearly 10 people gathered together. They were led by a plump, middle-aged gentleman with ruby cheeks and spirited eyes. On the double-breasted suit, Klein could see the gold chain from his pocket watch and jeweled collar and brooch. Next to Klein, Harsh, there is nothing innocent about you. Next to him was a lady in a wide-brimmed hat, her face completely hidden in the dark blue muslin and hung down. Her face wasn't too bad. That's the first time I've heard Klein. That's the first time I've heard Klein talk about a woman's appearance. And dude, the way Klein talks about women's appearances, you would think he was a supporter of the Church of Storms. You would think he was an average, like, red pill podcast watcher. I can tell Cleves maintained 2 seconds of silence and said, "Being an adventurer," or he could just be, "Being an adventurer isn't a beautiful profession. They've already switched careers and have become a bodyguard this time. I'm accompanying my employer's family to the capital of the Rörsted archipelago." He half turned and pointed to another spot on the deck. Klein traced where he was pointing and saw nearly 10 people gathered together, and they're all gonna die. They were led by a plump, middle-aged gentleman with ruddy cheeks and a spirited eye on his double-breasted suit. Klein could see the gold chain in his pocket watch and jeweled collar brooch. I feel like I'm having a stroke. I just read that. Next to him was a lady in a wide-brimmed hat, her face completely hidden by the dark blue muslin that hung down. Did I not just read this? Standing in front of a couple were 2 children. The younger one was a boy who wasn't even 10 years old. He was wearing a child's version of a tailcoat. The older one was 15 or 16 years old, and with a lively, energetic teenage girl. His looks couldn't be considered outstanding, but her pair of brown eyes were quite bright and intelligent. Her faint freckles and puffy dress added to her playfulness. Around them were 3 people carrying suitcases and all sorts of items. A man and 2 women, all dressed as servants. One of the maids had brownish skin, clearly of the southern continent heritage. The bodyguards protecting the 7 people were a man, a woman. They were dressed simply and neatly in white shirts, light sweaters, black coats, dark trousers, and sturdy level boots. The 2 bodyguards deliberately didn't hide their outlines made by the gun holsters of their waists. They didn't realize that the They inspected an approaching passersby. Their eyes were sharp and they were composed. 3 servants and 3 bodyguards. Klein asked casually. This is quite an extravagant setup, which means that their employer is a rich person. Instinctively, he made his judgment. Yes, Cleves nodded. Without another word, he quickly turned around and walked towards his employer's family. Klein was stunned. He didn't know why Cleves had specially come to greet him for. Klein was stunned. He didn't know why Cleves had specially come to greet him for. After recalling the novels, movies, and television dramas he had seen in his previous life, he gradually understood what Cleves was implying. He's implying that he's going to get really close to you. You guys have become the best of pals. Darrow's going to fall in love with him as a character, and then he's going to get brutally murdered at the end of the book. He's a little wary of me, and I should say of someone who claims to be an adventurer while not looking like someone to mess with. So he introduced himself in advance to indicate his identity, what his job is. It's to tell me or not have any plans regarding his employer's family. In short, you do what you do, I do what I do, and we stay out of each other's business. Is this the tactic understanding between experienced adventurers and veteran bounty hunters? Interesting. Klein chuckled. He carried his suitcase and black cane as he went into the cabin. With the help of his ticket, he found his own room. And they were roommates. With a creak, he pushed open the wooden door and walked in. The room wasn't very spacious, just large enough to fit a bed and table and cupboard. There weren't even any chairs. Its greatest advantage was that it came with windows and warm sunlight shone in, illuminating the table beside the pure golden sports. A member of the crew mentioned that the washroom and bathroom are for public use, with about 8 rooms sharing one. If someone urgently needs one, then they can provide a wooden toilet, but one must pay the cleaning fee of 3 pence each time. I have to be grateful that after the White Agate was renovated, it has many metal pipelines laid, boilers are burning, and hot water is being supplied, providing relative convenience in my life. Otherwise, my travel wouldn't have been a pleasant one. Klein silently sighed. Hi, welcome. Welcome. He quickly took out his necessities and placed them on the table for daily use. When he was tidying up the place, he sat down on the edge of the bed, which wasn't too high, and he listened to the long whistle of the steam whistle. He felt the power of the stream from steam to machinery contained within. When the ship began to set sail, Klein looked out the window of the sea and gradually withdrew his thoughts. He began to think about the most important thing that would happen next. The problem of how to act is as a faceless. While facing the true creator's decent ritual and the powerful Mr. A, the decision to give up trying to escape, and after a sabotage act, had allowed his potion to be digested a little. Based on this feedback, he gained some new insights into the acting requirements of Faceless. You can disguise yourself into anyone, but you are ultimately yourself. This is the principle which Marionettas Rosago was made to remember. I originally imagined that yourself refers to my original identity, but from the look of it, that's not the complete picture. What is considered yourself requires serious thought. Oh my god, are we about to get a whole book about Klein's self-discovery? Lean forward and bathe in the sunlight as though he was a thinking statue. After a while, he came up with an idea. Does this correspond to the spirit of one's identity, of their true identity deep down? Even back on Earth, Zhao Mingru had worn a lot of facades which formed a social persona. In a sense, this was a big part of what wasn't real. Yes, when I become someone else, I take over the identity in order to not be discovered. I have to disguise myself socially, which is the same as wearing a different mask. When all the masks are taken down, there will be none left. What kind of yourself does the faceless see at the end of the day? Is this the deeper meaning behind yourself in the principle? When I face my inner thoughts, overcome my fear, and challenge the impossible without reason stemming from society, am I really acting myself? This is to be explored and verified. Damn, Klein's about to go on like a whole eat, pray, love type beat. At this thought, Klein changed his position, trying to sit more comfortably. Oh, we're only 2 steps away from 150. Love that. Remembering everything that had happened before, he found another question regarding acting. In the underground ruins, I disguised myself as insane once successfully escaped from the predicament. But why didn't I feel any sign of digesting the potion at all? Does this imply that to digest the faceless potion, superficial disguise such as this isn't enough? Yes, this is closer to the use of a beyonder power and not acting. What can simulate the digestion of a potion is a disguise on a deeper level. Is it being a true substitute for a person, becoming that person on a social level only when his relatives and friends are unable to find him for a long period of time? Does it prove that his disguise was a success? In that case, the reason why I feel harmony with the faceless potion is because I had previously disguised myself as Klein Moretti. The first principle of faceless is that you can disguise yourself as anyone, but you are ultimately yourself. The second principle is to have a disguise on a deeper level that fools everyone. But to replace a person and become that person in a social sense is quite evil, just thinking about it. Don't tell me that I have to find those kinds of people who have died in a foreign land, but have to wish that has yet to be fulfilled. Klein eased his baffling horror, and he drew up an initial direction for his acting attempts. The higher the sequence, the more difficult it is to act. My 3 favorite pathways? Okay. Well, number 1, I think we all know. Number 1, Demoness. Number 2, I really like... I do really like the Seer pathway because I don't know a lot of pathways, but I do really like the Seer pathway. And then number 3, are you saying I'm a gooner? I mean, you're not wrong, but me? No. Number 1, Demoness. Number 2, Seer. Number 3, maybe out of the ones that I know and like the ones that I know the most of, Spectator? Maybe? Yeah, I think that would be it. Those would be the ones that I know. Oh, no. Oh, the one that she, the one that, oh my god. The one that Dally is. I'm not... I'm going back to my book. But those are my top 3. Corpse Collector, thank you. I think Corpse Collector is really cool. I would do Corpse Collector. So, those would be my top 3. And then, like, honestly, Seer and Spectator, like the one that Audrey is, I think those would be interchangeable, just from, like, what I've seen. It's a warm, sunny day other than the strong winds, which might steal my hat. There are no shortcomings. Gooner Square. No! No! It's a warm, sunny day other than the strong winds, which might steal my hat. There are no shortcomings. He pressed his half-top hat on his head and leisurely surveyed the cabin, listening to the faint sound of music coming from inside. Thank you. I'm not a gooner. I just happen to like strong... There is a sequence of a gooner. I'm not. I just happen to like strong, well-written characters, and the Demoness pathway is cool. I know I set myself up, okay? Sorry that a girl has hobbies. Sorry that a girl has interests. Sorry that I just happen to love freaky women that could kill me at any minute. Arrest me, Ossifer. It's a warm, sunny day. He pressed the half-top hat on his head and leisurely surveyed the cabin, listening to the... I'm ignoring the chat. Sounds of music coming from inside. Suddenly he saw the former adventurer, Cleves, busying himself round the corner. In front of him seemed to be a triangular blade, a dagger, and a short knife. Cleves sensed that this would and raised his head high to look at him, keeping a well-seasoned demeanor. He said in a manner, "We're old mates, and we have to maintain them frequently." At this point, he added, "There are children in the cabin." Understood. Klein. I do feel a little dirty after doing that, and then they mention that there's children. I know it's just a book, but still a little. You know how it gets. I'm used to using weapons that, Understood. Klein smiled in response. Cleve lowers his head and continued to busy himself. He casually asked, "You don't seem to have these things with you. I'm used to using weapons that keep abreast with the times." Klein said vaguely, "And I frequently do maintain maintenance." Cleve silently raised his dagger, looked at it against the sunlight, and said to himself, "At sea, guns alone aren't enough. Pirates will board your ship, and there will be a lot of people after you finish shooting your bullets. You won't have the opportunity to reload again. Although these guys are no longer with the times, they're still useful enough. Very, very professional." As expected of a former adventurer, Klein leaned against the side of the boat and said, half jokingly, "If there really are pirates boarding the ship, I'm more likely to choose not to fight back." Cleves turned his head and stared at him for a good 3 seconds before retracting his gaze. Then, as he packed up his things, he said in a low voice, "It seems that you don't need me to remind you. You've already understood the rules of the sea. The bounty hunters who travel the earth are often unable to adventure the sea." He skillfully hid the dagger, short knife, and triangular blade under his clothes, which dazzled Klein. "Thank you." Klein smiled and nodded. Without speaking any further, Cleves turned around and returned to the cabin, leaving behind only his broad and deep back. Klein smirked, shook his head, and turned his gaze to the side of the ship. Blue waves gently rose up and down. The silvery white flying fish occasionally leapt out of the water and soared in the air. This fish can fly and swim. They're considered the family of the Lord of Storms by fishermen and sailors. So even if they were caught by nets, they've not been anything. So even if they were caught by nets, they returned to the sea. Klein was leisurely admiring the surface of the sea under the sunlight, as well as flying fishes above the surface of the sea. As uncontrollable thought flashed through his mind. I wonder how good their meat is. Chapter 493. Hunting. Yes. Yes, I see my name and a bunch of question marks. Hi, Wiz. Things are going good. Not much new is happening. I'm just getting bullied in the chat. And, we haven't had any glitches this time, which is really good. But that's about it. Chapter 493, Hunting. Honorable Roads. My second question is, yes, we get another Roads question. Okay, I'm locking in. How did Sherlock Moriarty escape from the ruins? Bro, don't snitch on me. Don't snitch on me to Wiz. The stream is family friendly. How did Sherlock Moriarty escape from the ruins? Ikanzer's mood was a lot more relaxed than before. The surface of the silver mirror shimmer rapidly outlining Sherlock Moriarty leaning his back against the wall. his fist clenching and tightening. Then Ikanzer, Bernard, and the surrounding machinery hive mind deacons and captains saw the pirate detective's exaggerated smile before turning around and dishing out his gun drawers. At that moment, under the influence of the corresponding sequence, they all felt an inexplicable sense of sadness and excitement. It's freaking good. The image in the mirror jumped, revealing Sherlock Moriarty wielding his revolver as he shot at the altar to no avail. The scene of those disintegrating bullets caused everyone present to be a little worried. Then Sherlock Moriarty threw out a brass key, and the altar showed signs of instability due to corruption. With the erupting air blast, Mr. A fell to the ground, and Sherlock Moriarty pathetically fled out of the temple building. Clips channel typing you. No! He doesn't know. I'm gonna promise you, you don't want to see any of those clips. I don't want to see any of those clips. Nobody wants to see any of those clips. With the erupting air blast, Mr. A fell to the ground, and Sherlock Moriarty pathetically fled out of the temple building. At this point, the image changed to have the slightly turbid Tussock River as the main background. Sherlock Moriarty and Mr. A floated in the water, looking up into the sky where there were no clouds or fog. Almost instantly, Okay, at least you also have one. Almost instantly, he's used to it. Mr. A became transparent and disappeared, leaving only Sherlock Moriarty looking around in astonishment. The Church of Evernight's reinforcements, Ikander said with a frown. Unfortunately, he didn't mention what happened in his letter. We have no way of guessing. Was he trying to sell this secret for a good price, or was he simply affected by it and lost the relevant memories? Also, his experience of escaping from underground ruins doesn't show anything. It seems like the corresponding clues... Corresponding clues have been concealed at the same time. He analyzed it quickly in in sentences, and then without too great a psychological burden, he chose to answer with reciprocity instead of taking the risk. Rhodes doesn't seem to be in the mood to be a prankster today. No, she doesn't seem to be in the mood to be a prankster. She fucking roasted you in her earlier question. Absolutely dug a 6-foot grave and like Spartan kicked your ass down there. Buried you alive in that bitch. I can make the most of it. In his self-consolation, Ikanzer saw bloody words appear on the surface of the mirror. With a skip of his heartbeat, he had a bad premonition, suspecting that Rhodes had already recovered to his usual state. Is a Rhodes a he or a she? Because in my mind, it's a she. I don't think it really matters. It's a mirror. The blood-like words wriggled and quickly formed into a question. Who is the person you gave... God, I'm such a messy bitch. Who is the person you gave your all to while trying your best to win the favor of, only to end up being abandoned? Yes! Oh my God. I love a Rhodes so much. I wanna go to a lunch with him. With his head buzzing, Ikanzer's face drained all of its color before flushing red. The question pierced a deep wound in him while leaving him at a loss as to what to do. Answer the question! If I mention who he is, then his reputation will be ruined before tonight. I've already become a kind of a legend in some sense. Ikanzer swallowed his saliva with great difficulty and bitterly said, I choose punishment. I want to know who it is! I want to know who it is. Oh my God. The bolt of lightning immediately descended. However, it wasn't different from before. There was no longer silverly white and had been dyeing with slight green. It hit him right on the head, causing his hair to stand up. Oh my God, I want to know who it is. Flash color of lightning. He shook violently like shaking dice, as though he had been drugged with hallucinogenic drug. Archbishop Hormack sighed, closed his eyes, and muttered to himself, a grade 0 sealed artifact. When Ikanzer recovered, he looked around and said, there's one more question. Yes. Where did the key that Sherlock Moriarty used to destroy the descent ritual come from? Which one of you is going to use 2-111? All the machinery, high mind deacons, and captains looked at each other for a moment. No one responded. The sound of water splashing against the ship's hold seemed to be the only sound left in the world. The sea at night was both noisy and quiet. Klein suddenly woke up and opened his eyes. He saw the wooden ceiling covered in crimson moon veil. His spiritual intuition told him that there was something happening outside. As someone having a rendezvous, he tilted his head and listened vaguely, able to hear some unnatural sounds. He sat... Dude! This volume is scandalous. We're like 189 pages in, and it's like, alright. We better be going down to Intis. Or not Intis. Is it Intis? Yeah, we better be going down to Intis. Cuttlefish, yeah. Me and Cuttlefish, we like this. Gooners for life. But I'm not a gooner. After receiving no revelation of danger, he took out a revolver under his pillow and put it in his pocket. After making the appropriate preparations, Klein opened the door and walked out of the room, following the sound of the upper deck. At that moment, the sea, away from the industrial pollution and crimson moon, quietly hung there, mysterious and dreamy. After carefully bypassing a few patrolling crew members, Klein arrived at the area where there was a commotion. He could smell the faint scent of blood. Oh, they getting freaky with it. With the help of the moonlight, he looked over and saw former adventurer Cleves squatting to the side of a ship and setting something up. There was about 3 people hiding in the shadows of the cabin, about a dozen meters away from the gentleman. One of them was a companion of Cleves, the female bodyguard in the black coat. And the remaining 2 were the children of the employer, a girl of 14 or 15 years of age and a young gentleman no more than 10 years old. I regret my comment about them getting freaky now that there's children. I take that one back. Yes, I take that one back. The 2 youngsters wore thick cotton nightgowns and outer coats. It was obvious that they had come out in a hurry. They trembled amidst the chilling night wind, but they still squatted there full of energy and vigor, looking at Cleves with their bright eyes, playing hide and seek. Klein joked inwardly. He purposely increased the volume of his footsteps, causing Cleves and the others to turn around their gaze towards him. Friend, what happened? Klein recalled the expressions of some bounty hunters he knew in Eastborough, but he still maintained Garamond Sparrow's unique identity of being cold and sharp. Cleves replied unperturbed, a private job, a hunt that came by accident, but one that was worth looking forward to. A hunt? Klein's interest was suddenly piqued. Same. The reason he had named himself Garamond was that it represented the first hunter of the game he had played in his previous life. And it suited his idea of hunting evil at sea. Klein was in no hurry to inquire about the reason. Using his left hand, which bore creeping hunger, he pointed at the shadow next to him with his left finger. Private job? Doing a private job in front of your employer. Cleves, who was squatted there, glanced at the boy and the girl and said, without changing his tone, Cecile wasn't careful enough and ended up waking Donna and Denton up. She had no choice but to let them follow. The girl called Donna wrinkled her nose when she heard her name unmentioned. She curiously looked up and asked Klein, Uncle, are you also an adventurer? Uncle, even it's the me from Earth, I'm almost 10 years older than you, Klein said in amusement. No, you can't use the word also, strictly speaking. I am the only adventurer here. They're just bodyguards right now. He turned to Cleve and said, Hey mate, what prey did you discover? Cleves looked into a faint crimson waters and said, a murloc. Murloc, that's a beyonder creature. Even though it's of the lowest grade, it's still quite difficult for ordinary people to deal with. Oh my god, I lost it. For current people to deal with. They would need at least 5 to 6 people and 4 to 5 spears to have a chance. That's right, the scales on the Murloc's body are very hard. Revolvers can only deal a little damage. They need to have a rifle. Klein raised his eyebrows and asked, what do you plan on doing? How are you sure it's a Murloc? Cleves pointed to the edge of the ship and said, there are traces of its body mucus here. 1 to 2 hours ago, I tried to climb onto the ship and attack the passengers, but the deck was still bustling with activity and there's a lot of sailors and crew. Klein took a few steps forward and saw that there were some traces of green corrosion on the side of the ship. He recalled the information he had come into contact with in Tingen. It coincided with the content in the books. He asked with great interest, why must it be one and not a group? He remembered that Murlocs had a tendency to live together. If it's a group, then they'll directly destroy the ship's hull and let everyone sink. Moreover, the area around the channels being surrounded and the surrounding sea have already been cleared of Murlocs. The Church of Storm really enjoyed hunting them. I plan on going, well, because I know the song changes at chapter 499, so if we can get to 499 before like a time frame, we'll read that and we'll hopefully get some more lore and get some good stuff. So I'm gonna read. That's because Murlocs are probably one of the. We already have politics with the fact. Do you okay? Every time I look at the Gooners, what did you say that was bad enough to warrant Gooners? Go ahead. I didn't even say anything that bad. I was just I was vocalizing an opinion, and I think it got taken out of context. And then it like in her clips channel. And that's just kind of what happened. So I don't really know with that one. Also, back to it. I keep looking at it and I keep seeing more. Okay, actually, you know what? If we're going to talk about Gooners really quick, side note, if we're going to talk about Gooners, let me just go here to Vampire Waifu. Or sorry, Vapor Waifu. There's that. Let's just start there. We're all Gooners here. Goon or be gooned, as the saying goes. All Murlocs like this kind of food and are unable to resist its allure. Of course, these monsters love human organs the most. So in many sea legends, it's emphasized to prepare some. I'm working overtime today. Dude, no, literally. Kitchen or canned organs. I keep losing my train of thought. Goon or be gooned. Because of Dally and Freaky Woman promoting that. That's not why they were my favorite. They were my favorite because they were cool. They just happen to have freaky women in it, which is a bonus. From the ship's kitchen and canned organs, Cleve said as he sprinkled some granules. Pepper granules can cause the Murloc to feel excitement of smoking marijuana and lose some of their senses of balance. This can last for about a minute, and after that, the Murlocs will be exhausted. After the high state of excitement has... Thank you, Wiz! Thank you so much! Thank you so much. Thank you. He took out a wooden box from his clothes and placed the dark green paste on the tip of the triangular blade dagger and short knife. The mint cream was popular in Prince Harbor, is a unique sweetener for humans, but in the eyes of Murlocs, it's a deadly blood toxin. In addition, I borrowed 2 rifles from the sailors. I got an arrangement to not disturb this area for 20 minutes, and I spent a stabilized sum of money. However, as long as I can successfully kill a Murloc, then I'll be able to rep 10, 20, or even 30 times the cost. As expected of an experienced adventurer, he's exceptionally aware about the weaknesses and problems of his prey. Listening to him speak, I feel like they have a chance of successfully hunting the Murloc, even if they aren't beyonders. In the face of traps and firearms, low sequence beyonders really aren't much stronger than the average person. It's not like there are no low sequence beyonders who die in gang wars. However, Murlocs are creatures that seem to wear full body armor. It's not easy to kill them. They would be injures, but it's not like they can escape. Klein curiously asked, "You seem to have killed quite a number of Murlocs. Understanding the characteristics of common sea monsters in a..." What are we talking about? Common sea monsters. Murlocs are creatures that you seem to have killed quite a number of Murlocs. Understanding the characters of common sea monsters is a prerequisite for an adventurer's survival. Cleves didn't show the joy of being praised, as he remained calm and silent. As they conversed, a girl, Donna, and the boy Denton squatted in the shadows and listened with relish. They found all this to be the most interesting thing in the world. "Yes, I also need to brush up on my studies in this area." Klein smiled and said, "So that's how it is. I didn't disturb you at all. I didn't disturb you, did I?" Cleves pierced a portion of organs on the rod and said with a deep voice, "If you want to participate, take care of Donna and Denton so that Cecile won't be distracted." "Sure." Klein, who wanted to watch from the sidelines, smiled and agreed. "There, you did the impossible. You made Clip Goat ask for backup." I do what I can. You know, I always say, I'm a woman of the people and for the people. A bite of Murloc. Also, I would also like to add... Okay, hold up. How? Okay, so I already am like knowing that I am already knowing that we're gonna end up really liking Cleves, and he's probably gonna die, and I've accepted that, and I'll get really sad later, but that's okay. But I'm sensing some tension between Klein and Cleves. Tension that I haven't sensed since Klein and Leonard. Just throwing it out there. The red moon hung high in the sky as Klein walked over to Donna and Denton and squatted down beside them. Cecile and the female comrade of Cleves let out a sigh of relief. She picked up the rifle on the deck. Just want to throw it out there. She picked up the rifle on the deck, bent down, and quietly walked in another... it was a theory. Big brain, kind of throwing it out there. Seeing if it's gonna happen. She picked up a rifle on the deck, bent down quickly. She opened up a distance of about 10 meters from the peppered pig's organs. "Uncle, is it starting?" She's calling him Unc. The mischievous, freckled teenage girl Donna suddenly felt a little nervous. However, her face was filled... Oh! Pause. Let me finish this really quick. Her face was filled with curiosity and anticipation. Top 5 characters? Let me get into it. So we got Trissy, Dally, Leonard, and... I'm kidding. Top 5 characters would be... I feel like you have to go... you have to go Klein. No, because see, freaking this. No, dude, absolutely. Okay, I've got to think now. So Emperor Roselle, definitely top character. I really like Emlyn. He's a top character. And you know what? Okay, sorry. Tension between Cleves and Gehrman. You know what? Honestly, and this isn't because I'm a gooner, because I'm not, but Trissy would be up there solely for the fact of the whole interaction that she had at the end of Volume 2. And then, trying to think of who else. Denial as usual. I feel like Klein, but Klein in I haven't met Gehrman Sparrow, and I liked Klein in Volume 1, and then also Alger. And I don't know why I like Alger that much, because we haven't got that much from him, and like, it's not been, I don't know, I really like Alger. Old Coiler, Old Neil. I do really like Old Coiler and Old Neil. They are both up there. But they're not in my top 5. They're not. They're like top 10. They're definitely top 10. Remember freaking, oh, my thing was bigger? Yeah, those would be my top 5. So, Emperor Roselle, Emlyn, Trissy, Klein, and Alger. I want to be in that room. If I could save one Coiler or Neil, I don't know. Oh, you know what? No, that is such a good question. That is such a good question. That is, oh my god, Azek. Fuck, there's so many good characters. Yeah. Actually, Alger can go, Azek goes in. Azek goes in, Alger leaves. That's what we're doing. And then I think I would save, you know what? I think I would save Old Neil. I think I would save Old Neil. Yeah. What church would I like to join? The Demoness sect. And then probably would save Old Neil. Reason being, can he have his is so traumatic that you erased him from your mind? I don't want to think about Dunn. No, I actually don't. I did erase him from my mind. He's not in my brain. He's gone. He doesn't exist anymore. I've erased him. If I have to see him again, he better not, and somebody better hold me back. So we're not going to talk about that. And then I would also say probably I would save Old Neil, because I would let Coiler die, because, you know, like, he's kind of not doing too great. He's not doing too great. And, like, he can't, like, do too much. What's happening in the chat right now? I have to look at, like, what's happening, because I feel like a lot is being said. I know he didn't even get to eat his meal, but it does, like, really upset me. We have to let Coiler die. Because I feel like, you know, he doesn't have good mobility of his body, and he's already... Oh, but you know what? He also gets, like... He deserves a second chance. But I feel like Old Neil might be... No. Yeah, Old Neil just might be more useful. in the long run. You gotta think of, like, usability. Like, old Coiler isn't a Beyonder. Old Neil has some Beyonder characteristics. He can know my mysticism stuff. He can do things. I would trade the tip of my pinky finger for old Coiler to at least eat his ham before he died. And that would be that. I think. Okay, fine. Whatever. Then save, like, old Coiler. I don't care. They're both dead anyway. What's the difference gonna make? Oh, which one would you save? Neither one. They both died. They both tragically died. I do also like Emlyn. He's in my top 5. Yeah, so there you go. Any other questions? Any other questions? I do really like Susie. Because that's the thing, is like it's really hard to get like a. See, that's the thing. If okay, harsh, new thing we've now brought up. I'm letting old Coiler die. I'm letting old Neil die. I'll kill them myself if I can save Captain Dunn. Heard it here first, kids. Dara's a murderer. Gonna pew 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 all these bitches, eat the ham in front of him. And I'm saving Captain Dunn. Anyway, let's continue with... Let's continue with the book. Chapter 494, A Bite of Murloc. The red moon hung high in the sky as Klein walked over to Donna and Denton, squatted down beside them. Cecile, the female comrade of Cleves, let out a sigh of relief. She picked up the rifle. Favorite god so far? I would say probably the, I don't know. Probably the Evernight Goddess. I feel like you have to go with the Evernight Goddess. That's like the smart answer, I feel like. I couldn't, yeah, like I feel like I would have to go with the Evernight Goddess. God, no, I'm not picking Steam and Machinery. At that point, I might as well pick the Lord of Storms. Put me in the kitchen. She picked up the rifle on the deck, bent down, and quickly walked in another direction. She opened up a distance. Walked in another direction. She opened up a distance. Okay, this is my last question I'm gonna do, and then I'm gonna do like a bit of reading because I do want to get to chapter 499. What is this? Marianne alive and kiss. Audrey Leonard Klein. Easy. Maybe not easy. Actually, okay. Here's the thing. Is it Klein? Or is it Gehrman Sparrow? Because if it's volume 1 Klein, sorry, but I'm killing Klein. Bye. And then I'm gonna marry Audrey, get that bread, and then I'm gonna kiss Leonard. Easy. However, if it's Gehrman Sparrow Klein, I don't care about the others. Gehrman Sparrow all the way. Kiss, marry, kill, done, done, done. I think I'd kiss, done, and then marry, done, and then I'd have to kill, done, murder, suicide style, so Dally never finds out. I have seen all the Gehrman fan art. We have fully seen it. Trissy, Dally, Sharon, can I marry all three? And then sacrifice someone else? You know? How many people would I have to sacrifice to marry all three? That's the real question. Easy, done. Say less. I could kill 20,000 people, drop of a hat, drop of a bomb, dare I say. We're gonna go back to the show. No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say it. I never said that. I'm so sorry. She opened up a distance of about 10 meters for a peppered pig's organs. Uncle, is it starting? No, actually, no. Guys, when I blow up, we're not allowed to show anybody the clips from the early days, okay? Can we all pinky promise on that one? That this stays an exclusive group? It's an exclusive club, you know? Kidding. Pinky promise, guys. Pinky promise on that one. Please. However, her face was filled with curiosity and anticipation. Klein raised his left index finger to his mouth. Motioning for the two young ones to be quiet. Shh. No more talking. At times like this, he couldn't help but thank Roselle. It was because of the efforts of this transmigration senior that some of his habitual gestures, those vile things for fictional characters, title gonna go crazy. Had become common body language in the northern continent, so it would lead to misunderstandings. It was said that in the early parts of the Fifth Epoch, this don't talk gesture was an insult to Lowen, but in certain parts of the southern continent, it means kiss me. Klein's mind was a little distracted for a moment. Donna and Denton didn't dare to say anything else. And in the future, you have this digital footprint. No! I plan on getting really famous one day. Oh my god. My digital footprint is gonna be horrendous. Oh my god. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. Klein's mind was a little distracted for a moment. Donna and Denton didn't dare to say anything else. They just squatted there quietly, watching with rapt attention as Cleves prepared for the battle. The former adventurer picked up a rod and threw the thread of some pig organs hanging from it over the side of the ship. With a splash, the bait entered the water. Calmly disappearing the remaining organs, Cleves wielded his weapon and retreated step by step to hide in the shadows opposite Cecile. The two of them formed an angle of about 60 degrees to the side of the ships where the rod is being supported. You wouldn't do that to me, right? You wouldn't. I feel like yeah. Leaning his triangular blade and other weapons, he raised his rifle and tried to take in the feeling of aiming. The deck had completely quieted down, leaving only the operating sound of the steam engine and crashing of waves against the ship. As the minutes trickled by, Donna and Denton couldn't help but switch from squatting to sitting with their backs against the planks of the cabin, trying to soothe the paralysis in their legs. At that moment, they saw the rod on the side of the boat sink a little. The muffled sound of fiction rapidly grew closer and closer. Suddenly, a figure attempted to murder me via causing me to laugh. Can you count as the 20,000 that I have to kill? Noted character traits. Yeah! That's our apology video. Hold up. I just want to say I'm so sorry for everything that I've ever said and anything that I'm gonna say. You know, I'm not a perfect person. I make mistakes, and I really just need people to understand and really just side with me, because I love attention, and sometimes that gets to my head and I don't think of the words before they come out of my mouth. And you bullying me and making me feel bad about this is actually really rude, because it's a medical condition. Look it up. So that's on you. Congratulations. You've now bullied someone out of doing what they love. Just so you're aware. Hope you feel good about yourself. And that's the apology that you're gonna get. Womp womp. It didn't have much in common with humans. It was like a giant fish that had grown 4 strong limbs, and there was obviously webbing in the cracks of the limbs. It is your fault. And now you have to live with that, just so you're aware. That you, that's right, I'm talking to you, that you were wrong. I don't call it a backhanded apology. I call it the truth. My truth. And you need to accept that. And you also need to get... you also need to get with the program. Because it's really hurtful that you don't. It's triggering, actually. I'm very triggered that you guys aren't believing my truth. What happened to believing in women, huh? What happened to believing women, huh? God. I'm gonna get back to this. I'm going to get back. It didn't have to be. Bye. It didn't have much in common with humans. It was like a giant fish that had grown 4 strong limbs. I'm offended that you're offended. Okay? And I'm a woman. So my offense takes more precedence. The Murloc was more than 1.9 meters tall, with round eyes and gills. Yeah, no, I've made it through 3.5 chapters. This is I literally have not. Lock in! Lock in! Lock in. Okay. Thank you. Lock in. The Murloc was... It looked like demons from Legends, making Donna cover her mouth and prevent herself from screaming. At the same time, she covered her mouth and her brother Denton as well. Good thinking, Klein smiled to himself as he carefully examined the Murloc. Unlike the sailor rampager he had seen before, real Murlocs didn't have human-like brains. They were pure monsters. The Murloc vigilantly scanned the surroundings before squatting down. He picked up the I'm just not focusing on the chat. Picked up the scattered pig organs, quickly stuffed them into his mouth, and produced clear chewing sounds. Yummy. The light in the mainly white eyes gradually faded, as if it had fallen into a dream. It's of low intellect. Klein shook his head and made his judgment. Bang! Cleves pulled the trigger and the bullet flew out from the rifle. It instantly stuck the Murloc chest. What does Cleves look like? Like, what's his artwork? Causing its scales to shatter and blood to splatter. Okay, Dr. Seuss. Wow, the merman let out a cry which sounded like a child, and it threw itself at Cleves, who was hidden in the shadow. It was as fast as the steam train. No, you guys can keep talking. I'm not focusing. At that moment, Cecile, who was in another position, opened fire as well. Bang! The bullet from the rifle struck the Murloc's ribcage. Causing many scales to scatter and the tall figure to stagger. The Murloc, who has eaten the pepper granules, became visibly sluggish. It stopped, unsure of which enemy to attack first, and then gave Cleves and Cecile a chance to calmly reload. They took aim again and pulled their triggers. Bang, bang. The spray of blood bloomed in succession. The pain caused the Murloc's eyes to regain its lucidity. It flipped and pounced, dodging the follow-up shots, and closed in on Cleves if they were unhurt. Cleves methodically put down the rifle in his hand and picked up the triangular blade that was leaning to his side. Instead of dodging, he leaped forward and rolled to the side of the Murloc, the triangular blade in his hand. Ruthlessly, the accurately pierced into the area where the scales on the side of his prey were shattered. The Murloc spun around abruptly, bringing with it a gust of wind. It forcibly threw the triangular blade along with Cleves out, causing the former adventurer to crash onto the deck. The Murloc shook his head as though sensing an intense discomfort. It didn't attack Cleves and Cecile again, but instead took large strides to the side of the ship and attempted to jump into the sea. Bang! Cecile's bullet hit it again, creating blood to blossom again, but it still didn't make it become immobile. With 2 steps, the Murloc reached a subtle spot on the bent its knee and prepared to jump in. However, its body was too weak. It exert its full strength. The distance it had to jump was obviously not enough, so it could only land on the inner side of the ship. Bang! The Murloc bore the brunt of the damage and tried to flip over the side of the ship. Seeing it almost escaping, Klein took out his revolver. Just then a loud bang came from another direction. The Murloc left his eyes turned into a bloody hole, and one could vaguely see a pale gelatinous substance squirming inside. It wasn't dead. It lay on the floor on the deck, trying its best to crawl and get up. After a few seconds, the poison took effect and it twitched to its death. Klein traced the sound and saw a middle-aged man step out of the shadow on the other side of the cabin. The middle-aged man was wearing a thick, dark coat and white slacks. He was wearing the standard ship-shaped hat of his era. He was holding an iron-colored musket that was a relic of old times. As white smoke billowed out of his thick black muzzle, Klein had heard the attendant introduce the man before, and he knew the man. He was a captain of the White agate Elend Keg, with obvious wrinkles at the corner of his eyes, his forehead and the corner of his mouth. Elend walked over to Cleves and said with a smile, "As a captain, I must ensure that no accidents happen. Forgive me for watching by the side at this time." Cleves had already stood up. He didn't betray his emotions. "This is your ship." According to convention, you have the right to share in the spoils. Ellen turns his head to look at Klein and the others with a smile. "The next resupply of water and food is in 2 days' time. You have to think of ways to preserve the Murloc corpse. How about this? Sell it to me at a cheaper price. The difference is the reward I deserve." "This is the best solution." Cleves and Cecile exchanged glances and agreed to Ellen's request. "For 130 pounds, it's all yours. The Murloc, beyond our ingredients, has a marketplace of 150 to 200 pounds. Considering the other parts of the spirituality, 130 pounds is indeed cheap. However, this is the only thing Cleves and Cecile can do. This is Ellen's ship, and he had a large group of armed sailors and crew to help him. If the negotiations break down, they could sink everyone in here into the sea within minutes. Of course, that's under the premise that I don't involve myself." Yes, it can be seen that Cleves and Cecile aren't Beyonders, at least not Beyonders in the combat of shooting domains. As for Ellen, I find it suspect. Klein stood up and listened to the deal. "No, you seem to have misunderstood something. I'm not threatening you. 150 pounds, that's a fair price." Ellen Keg called for a sailor and gave him the key to the safe. "You are the Just Ellard." Only now did Cecile seem to recall this title. "On the sea." Ellen laughed and said yes. At this moment, Donna and Denton, stunned by the intense battle and the living monster, jumped to their feet and ran over to the Murloc in excitement and fear. Is it really dead?" Donna kicked up the Murloc's body with her toe. Then she jumped away and hid behind her younger brother, as if she were afraid it would revive. "Is it really a monster?" Denton took a deep breath and opened his eyes wide. There were many monsters at sea. Apart from having 4 limbs and being able to stand, Murlocs have no similarity to human. Ellen smiled gently. He squatted down and took a knife, slicing the cheek beneath the Murloc's eyes, revealing white, tender skin that was tainted with some red. "The most delicious part of the Murloc body is suitable for eating it raw." Ellen carefully sliced a piece of fish and handed it down to Donna. "You remind me of my daughter. Unfortunately, she's grown up and still has a family of her own." I don't dare eat it," Donna said, looking at the thin silver of the flesh held by the top of the knife. "Haha, which one do you want to try?" Ellen laughed and looked around. After confirming that there were no warnings from his spiritual intuition, Klein nodded. "I'm very curious." Ellen immediately handed him the knife. "Give it a try." "Oh, on land, even nobles may not necessarily have a chance to eat it. These Murlocs are fish monsters. They can be understood as a mutated type of fish." He was trying to dispel the siblings' fears. Klein wanted to ask if there were any wasabi, soy sauce, or other condiments, but seeing that the other party didn't mention it, he was afraid to appear ignorant. He took the knife but into his bloody flesh and swallowed it. It was a feeling of flesh that instantly melted in his mouth. The taste of blood was very faint, giving it an appropriate salty taste. It perfectly set off the fresh and sweet taste of meat. Klein chewed twice, taking in the deliciousness of the tenderness and freshness of the fish meat. It was the first time in his life that he was experiencing something like that. Excellent. He wasn't stingy with his praises as he gave a thumbs up. Donna watched the whole thing with curiosity, suddenly interested in the flesh of the Murloc cheek. This overwhelmed her fear of disgust, and she suggested that the idea of trying. Ellen fulfilled her request and smiled as he watched her tight close her eyes and her face scrunch into a grimace. She said, bit into the meat. Donna's expression gradually relaxed and she quickly opened her eyes. She excellently praised, an indescribable delicacy. She spun if you then stop after 500 or 501. Okay. She spurred things into action as Denton and Cecile and the others shared a little chunk of meat, eating it. Satisfied them, but also made them dissatisfied. They were satisfied with the taste, but were dissatisfied with the quality. Seeing that Ellen had eaten the last piece, Cleves pointed to the Murloc's body and said the meat around the ribs is suitable for frying, while the belly meat should be restored to other parts. Tastes bad. I share your thoughts, Ellen said with a chuckle. I'll have the chef prepare it immediately. On such a night, we should enjoy good food and wine together and exchange the legends at sea. It's very enjoyable matter. I'm looking forward to it. However, why did a perfectly fine hunt turn into a delicacy exchange? Klein swallowed his saliva. Chapter 495, Legend of Treasure. Let's go! I'm so sorry. That took so long. I didn't realize how long that was gonna take. But we're done. We did it. Let me fix it real quick. Let me get it. That was crazy. No spelling mistakes here. I know how to spell. Thank you. I'm really proud that I finished it too. No, I didn't. 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 That's how you spell legend. Legend. No way. Okay. I got really scared. Perfect. Okay, above the deck, there is an extra layer of asbestos beneath the grill. Yeah, it was gaslighting. I've spelled quite a few words wrong, so we always like to... I wouldn't say traumatized. I would say, just wary. Really just, aware of if I spell things wrong. So. It's been a few. Above the deck, there is an extra layer of asbestos beneath the grill to prevent the coal sparks from being blown out by the wind. The scorching of the surface of the ship, the fat cook wearing an apron and a tall white hat, invented by Roselle, used a fine brush to constantly apply the seasoning created from a special recipe, basil, fennel, salt, pepper. Whole ass lore on there's a whole ass lore on his spellings. White strips of fish. They frequently flipped them over to ensure that both sides were evenly heated. The flesh of the Murloc belly was fatty, dripping with drops of oil, causing the coal beneath the iron mesh to sizzle up and flare. And an enticing aroma began to fill the air. Klein inhaled again and again. In front of him was a round table and a chair. On top of the table was a unique-looking bottle of wine. The wine was golden red in color and seemed slightly sticky in the swirl about. Sonia blood. There it is. Okay. Brewed from sugarwood juice from the surrounding areas of Golden Spring. It tastes like thin honey mixed with blood. It's sweet and smooth, but it's very easy to get drunk on. If you fancy any lady and want to treat her to a drink, you can consider this. It will make her drink more without realizing it. Damn, that's that Emperor Roselle mix right there. The premise that you're able to handle the amount of alcohol she's drinking. Notice Klein's scrutiny. Captain Ellen Keg introduced in half a joking manner. As expected from a former boatswain, he accomplished when it comes to self-deprecation. Klein sat down and maintained a cold attitude, and he asked a qualified adventurer wouldn't indulge in alcohol. Cleves, who was beside him, nodded. Only when they return home will adventurers allow themselves to drink. What a pity. Ellen turned and looked at Donna and Denton, who were staring curiously at the blood wine. He laughed and said, "This isn't something that underage children should experience." "I've had it before and it tastes really good," Donna retorted immediately. It's just that I fell asleep without realizing it and slept an entire afternoon. I remember that you drank 2 cups that time," the little gentleman Denton said enviously. Ellen didn't satisfy their cravings and instead ordered a cup of sweet iced tea for each of the siblings and casually explained, "There's a lot of Southerners on this ship." Denton retracted his disappointing gaze and looked at the Murloc, which had its valuable materials taken away. He said rather innocently, Actually, it's not that scary. It's just a bigger, uglier fish without 4 limbs." Donna shot a glance at her younger brother. "Congratulations, you finally recognized the essence of it." She then looked eagerly at Claves and Ellen. Uncle, are there many of these monsters in the sea?" Murlocs didn't possess beyonder powers, which were beyond one's imagination. In the eyes of ordinary people, they were akin to ferocious beasts at sea or a living example of legendary monsters. Ellen chuckled and said, "No, in the main sea route and the surrounding seas. There are very few monsters like this. You've been cleared out for a long time, so you must be lucky enough to meet the Murloc. Think about it. If I can kill one monster worth 200 pounds or more, then I certainly wouldn't be a captain of a passenger ship. I'd organize my own hunting boat to chase them down the gold pounds." "That makes a lot of sense," Klein secretly cheered him on. According to his observation, the beyonder ingredients from the Murloc was its bladder. The azure aqueous light made one feel like they were looking at a gem. Clives raised the black tea which the sailor had just delivered. His first smelled it before taking a sip. Only by leaving the main sea route and going deep into the ocean, which is often shrouded in fog or storms, will there be a good chance of encountering such monsters. But that would be very dangerous. Apart from scaly Murlocs who can climb, there are also legends at sea of Nagas that have the upper body of a human while the bottom half is a snake. They have 6 arms and are very agile. Ellen continued on the topic. There are also giant octopuses which can spit out juices that can corrode a lot of people, terrifying sea monsters that can flip a boat with a gentle blow, mermaids with intoxicating songs that make one unwilling to leave, blue giant dragons that can produce lightning, giant birds with wings that can cause hurricanes. I've never seen any of these before. They're all legends of sea monsters, and no one knows whether they're real or fake. Mermaids, Klein's expression didn't change. Very interesting, Don exclaimed, fascinated with the look of longing. Denton looked around, and seeing that Klein hadn't spoken, he curiously asked, Uncle, you're an adventurer too. Have you seen such monsters before? Klein was stunned for a moment, then he gave a faint smile. Once, back when there were 5 of us, and we chanced upon a single Murloc. After an intense fight, we finally finished it. This was the real experience of his Tingen city. It was also his first encounter with an official Beyonder who had lost control. At this time, he and old Neil had helped to eliminate a mutated sailor at the request of Swain, the old owner of the Evil Dragon Bar. Thinking of this, Klein felt nostalgic and wishful. The cold and sharp expression on his face couldn't help but soften significantly. 5 people, while asking, Donna secretly counted the number of people who had been involved in the battle. 1, 2, 3. She discovered that only 3 people had taken action to kill the Murloc. Without waiting for Klein's response, Ellen said with a hint of surprise, A chance encounter? Yes, Klein answered frankly. We were all casualties, Ellen pressed. Klein shook his head. A few minor injuries, a chance encounter, and you only took 5 people to finish your Murloc. All of you are very powerful, Cleves gave his own evaluation. His companion, Cecile, nodded to express her astonishment. The battle that had happened just now was brief and quick, and the Murloc seemed easy and vulnerable, but she and Cleves both knew very well that without the pre-prepared bait, the hallucinatory effect, and the pepper granules and the subsequent fatigue, the Murloc fatal weakness of mint cream, and the 2 borrowed rifles, it was impossible to imagine how many people would die in order to kill it. Indeed, very powerful. Ellen looked thoughtfully at Klein. It was a team formed of 4 Sequence 9 and Sequence 8. Klein said with a half smile and a half sigh. At the time, I was still very young, and I didn't... Still very young? Wait, the half Sequence 9 Beyonders? Yeah. So they, So they're, eating people? Kind of? Interesting. And also, I love how he's like, I was very young. It was 6 months ago. It was within the last year, Klein. You haven't aged yet. You're actually the same age you were. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I was still very young and didn't even have any experience in combat. I was purely support. Uncle, you're still very young. Donna nodded her head vigorously. I like what you said. Klein keenly noticed the captain. Ellen had relaxed a lot from what he had just said. At this moment, several crew members had brought over a large ceramic plate. On top of it were pieces of meat that had been fried to a golden hue. The basil leaves were sprinkled with color, and the captivating fragrance assaulted their nose. Ellen raised her glass of Sonia blood wine and offered a toast. To a beautiful night, may the storm be with us. To a beautiful night, Donna and Denton cheered and sipped their sweet tea. Klein chose to clink glasses with a cup of black tea. He forked the piece of meat in the murloc ribs, finding it firm and without fat. However, after absorbing the vegetable oil, the flaw of being too dry was remedied. As he chewed it, emanated in limitless chewy consistency and fragrance. It's really inferior to cheek meat, but it's also good enough. It's better than all the fish I've eaten while in Backlund and Prince Harbor. Klein praised a satisfaction. Ellen put down the knife and fork in her hand, took a sip of Sonia blood wine, and sighed at the topic. At sea, the greatest danger doesn't stem from the monsters, but those parties. They helm their ships, going wherever they please. No one can defend against them in advance. Uncle Captain, will we encounter pirates? Denton asked with concern as he swallowed the fried fish. Ellen laughed. The route of the Rorstad archipelago is the safest in the world, with colonial islands en route every 2 to 3 days, allowing us to dock. The route is also patrolled by ships from the Imperial Navy in charge of storms. Even if pirates come wandering here, they wouldn't do anything too excessive. After seeing our cannons, they would most extort some compensation. Seeing that the 2 underage children had calmed down, Ellen added, but from the south of the Rorstad archipelago, or as we continue east, we'll have to rely on the Lord's blessing. Many pirates are active in these areas, playing hide and seek with the ships of the Navy and Church. If we're lucky, we'll be able to reach the southern continent and every destination very smooth. But if we aren't lucky, we'll encounter some relative power pirates, including the fleet of the 7 pirate admirals and even the 4 kings. However, you don't have to be too worried. Ever since Nast became the king of the 5 seas and enacted the rules of the sea passage, most pirates will only rob you clean of your wealth without doing anything too overboard. Around this area, we're most afraid of encountering the captain of the Black Tulip, Admiral Hell Ludwig. He'll get his subordinates to kill everyone on board, throwing the innocents into hell. Next would be Admiral of the Blood Senior. He loves blood, and he allows his subordinates to partake in heinous acts. Many girls have suffered under them before being sold to different islands. Donna trembled as she subconsciously changed the topic. I heard that there are a lot of treasures at sea. There are legends of treasures, but most of them are fake. Ellen glanced at Cleves and said, there are 6 stories which are the most famous. Rank first is the... I will, don't worry. Wait. Yo, just saw the drop the bomb moment. Gotta watch the... He attempted to return to the southern continent and created a raging storm wave and impassable barrier to completely obstruct the sea route between the northern and southern continents. This was the original legend of the Berserk Sea. However, he eventually failed to return to the southern continent and ended up vanishing in the sea. When he said this, Ellen sighed with pages of yearning. It's said that some secret places in the Berserk Sea, the treasures left behind. That treasures the treasure left behind the deed are waiting for the person holding a specific key to find and open it, but no one knows what that key looks like. Is it the key that Klein got rid of last volume, or where it will appear? Ranked second is the fountain of Unaging. Unaging? It's deep in the Sony Sea. Rumor has it that one of the 4 kings, king of immortality, Agilo, had drunk the waters of the fountain of Unaging. It's Unaging. 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 Like age. Unaging? Unaging. I got it. I got it. Chapter 496. Leave me alone. I'm doing what I can. I'm doing what I can. Do you use it? Having age. Okay. Guys, we've made it so far today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, see, sometimes the names are a little hard to say. Like done and then I know. I did pronounce it. It was I'll go back. It was unaging. Unaging. Use text. See, yes, unaging. Okay, I got it. I had it previously. Stop it. I had it. You're gaslighting me. I had it previously. Yes, I said unagagging. Yes, I said unagagging at first. I did. Then I reread it and I realized what it actually said. Wait, I need to know what chapter I'm on now. The Promising Sea. Remember announcement. Dara has dyslexia and she does what she can. The fact I'm reading this out loud for the world to see and for you all to roast me and bully me, you're welcome. What's the guy's name again? What guy? Which guy? It is a reading stream. We're getting it. We're going. Okay. Chapter 400. Fountain unaging. Will you really gain eternal youth if you drink it? Donna widened her eyes and asked curiously. She didn't ask if you have any feelings of anticipation because she was still young enough. Ellen didn't answer at once, and instead he forked a piece of fried Murloc rib meat into the 2 bites. And took a sip of Sonia wine. The sweet and smooth taste had completely nullified the coiled taste of fried. No. Ellen didn't answer at once, and instead he forked a piece of fried, tore into it 2 bites and took a sip of Sonia wine. The sweet and smooth taste had completely nullified the coiled taste of fried oil. His eyes were half closed, and he looked like a gourmet. After pondering for a few seconds, he slowly answered Donna's question. I don't know if there's a fountain of, nor am I certain if the king of immortality drank its waters. I only know one thing, and that is that when I was very young, I heard the legend of the Pirate King. It's just like how King of the Five Seas Nass seemed to live forever. Her beards must be very long, extending beyond their chests. Agalito. Unaging Agalito. Unaging Agalito. And I'm right, because none of you have said anything. Anyway, in fact, the King of the Five Seas Nast has a beard that only reaches below his neck. He sits on the deck, draped in a black splendid robe with silver ends. He wears a crown that 2 times taller than his head and overlooks everything like a deity. Ellen's tone gradually lowered, as though his memories had entered a quagmire, and he was unable to eradicate himself. Uncle Captain, have you ever met the King of the Five Seas? Donna asked excitedly. This was the most legendary pirate. His name traveled through the seas, and even the children of the port cities knew his name. Whole generations of people grew up listening to stories about him. In a sense, many people view Nass as a true pirate king. I remember one of the conditions for advancements for Black Emperor is to equate one's name with Emperor, entrenching it deep in the hearts of the people. Is this an earlier simplified version of an attempt? I wondered what... Oh, what? Wait. Is this an earlier simplified version of an attempt? I wondered what sequence the King of the Five Seas is now. Although Klein was forced on sampling the Murloc meat, his mind whirled as a result of the group discussion. Faced with Donna's question, Ellen said with a sigh, at this time, I was very young and serving on the William V. Once our feet tried to cross the Straits of the Calamity in the Berserk Sea, and encountered the Black Emperor's ship there. In those few minutes, everyone, including the fleet captain, lost the will to fight. Fortunately, Nass didn't give the order to attack us. Very cool. The boy Denton cheered, his eyes shining. Ellen didn't continue the topic. He smiled and said, as for King of Immortality, Agalito, I've never met him in real life. I only know that his bounty notice depicts a pale middle-aged man. How pale? Let me give an example you can understand. It's like he's been dead for some time, a corpse which is just beginning to rot. When Donna and Denton heard this analogy, they subconsciously looked at the badly mutilated Murloc corpse and involuntarily quivered their throats. Of course, the most important thing in a bounty notice isn't the looks, it's the bounty reward. In loan alone, Agalito is worth 100,000 pounds, and his bounty is the lowest among the 4 kings. Ellen diverted the topic and said, let's continue the stories about treasure. Ranked third in the inheritance of the Solomon Empire in the 4th epoch, when the massive empire was dissolved and destroyed, the royalty brought treasures that even the gods would be jealous of onto the ships. They steered the deep into the fog sea, awaiting the opportunity to rebuild their dynasty. However, 500 years passed, 1,000 years passed, and 1,500 years passed, but it ultimately didn't appear. Rumor has it that the King of the Five Seas, Nass, inherited parts of the Solomon Empire inheritance. No one knows if he's a descendant of the real Black Emperor. Cecile added with interest. Fog Sea, western shore of the northern continent. Donna thought back to her geography. Right? Cleves responded simply. West of the northern continent was the Fog Sea. To its east was the Sonia Sea. South was the Berserk Sea, and north was the North Sea. Shocking. The east and west sides of the southern continent were similar to the northern continent, while south of it was the Polar Sea. Together, they formed the Five Seas. The Lowen Kingdom was backed by the Hornicus mountain range and the inland... Oh yeah, I kind of forgot about the Hornicus mountain range. Like, I didn't forget, but like, I wonder if we're ever gonna go there. And the inland mid-seashire in eastern face was Sonia Sea, and it stretched south to Desi Bay. It occupied several of the excellent entrances to the Berserk Sea, but it did involve the Fog Sea. Is that so? Donna didn't have much interest in the faraway treasure, so she switched focus and asked, what about the fourth treasure? That belongs to the last emperor of the fourth epoch. Oh my fucking god. Why can I not get it? Fucking hell. Oh my god, I'm having a stroke right now. Trunsoist. It's like, cause it's... Rumor has it that they built a huge ship the size of a city. And they transferred onto it. Funny enough, their escape was of no use, although the premature passengers and crew didn't to arrive at the port in time. None of them survived. However, that ship vanished by itself. Up to this day, people often claim to see a gigantic ship sail by them silently in a foggy night. It's been called the Spectre Empire, and it appears across the Sonia Sea. This is the conclusion from all those stories. Ellen looked... I know it's Hornicus. I just accidentally said Hornicus. Or not Hornicus, Hornicus. But I know it's Hornicus. Looked up, the red moon hanging high in the sky, and he said with a tone of mockery, without any disgust of his longing, perhaps we will see it past us by tomorrow. No, tonight. Donna thought with anticipation and excitement. Klein finished up the rest of the food, drank his... a bottle of water. Klein finished. Klein finished up the rest of his food, drank his black tea, and listened with interest to what Ellen had said about the rest of the treasures. The fifth is the lost city of Newlands. Rumor has it that it's at the bottom of the Fog Sea. There's a civilization with intelligence centers around the patch of seafarers, and adventurers often find special items, which all point to the Newlands of the ancient times. However, the members of the civilization have yet to appear. It's like it has been lost to this world. Ellen drank the remaining of his Sonia blood wine and said that it is an inheritance left behind by civilization. The magnitude of its wealth is absolutely unimaginable. After pausing for 2 seconds, Ellen put down his glass and laughed. In fact, the treasure I look forward to the most is the one which has more accounts than legends. The sunken Laurel, which is what we're gonna leave it at. No, I know. We really haven't gone through as many chapters as I wanted to go through. I think this might be the last chapter. Maybe I'll do one more. We'll see. It said that the items on board are worth millions of pounds. Millions of pounds. The numbers caused Donna to blurt out in astonishment. As a merchant's daughter who had been educated for many years, she had vaguely understanding as to what this number represented. In Lowen, a millionaire was generally a rich person, second only to a top noble family and tycoon. Millions of pounds. Harsh, I saw what you put. Take it back. Yeah, Harsh, don't you dare. Miss Mary, who allowed me to join the Quilla Club for free, is only worth a few £100. And even so, she's rich enough, even in the circle of aristocrats and merchants. She's a popular divorced lady, and there are even aristocrat children who propose to. She's a popular divorced lady, and there are even aristocrat children who propose to her. Klein quickly found a target for comparison. Ellen sighed with a laugh. If I can find the sunken laurel, then I don't have to be a captain anymore. I'll head to Backland and become a philanthropist. I'll purchase a land and donate to political parties and get a hereditary aristocratic title. I've heard Talim mention before that the baronet costs about £300,000 and about £800,000 for a baron. If you manage to get your hands on the treasure, the titles of viscount and even earl is something within the limits of imagination. Millions of pounds. Klein helped Ellen perfect his plan. If it were me, I wouldn't do that. I'll buy a huge manor. Cecile also began to imagine her life after finding the... What did you do? Harsh, what did you do? Harsh! If it were me, I wouldn't do that. I'll buy huge manors. I'm keeping my eye on you. Also, I want to hire many servants and helpers, plant large tracts of wheat, build vineyards, make wine for myself. Also, I want to have a room where I can sunbathe, have leisurely mowing cows, sheep, and horses, and have bread from my own mill, just like a beautiful, picturesque scene. Ellen laughed when he heard that. Ma'am, do you know how much a manor like this is worth? No, I don't. Cecile shook her head. It's only a few £1,000s. If you find the sunken laurel, then you can buy 1,000 of those manors. Ellen used the exact numbers to illustrate the value of the treasure. 1,000 manors? Cecile couldn't help but raise her cup and drink a mouthful of black tea. Before this, she had known that several £1,000,000 was a lot of money, but she hadn't expected it to be this much. In order to alleviate the shock of her heart, she looked at Cleves and said, Boss, if you find the sunken laurel, what do you plan on buying? No, what sort of life do you wish to have? Cleves fell silent for a moment before saying, Return home. I'll hug my wife and children, telling them that I no longer need to go on an adventure out to sea. Not a bad guy, Klein nodded silently. Donna looked at him curiously. Uncle Adventurer, what about you? Klein replied expressionless, Tell myself not to sleep anymore. Hurry up and wake up. Pff. Donna spat out a sweet iced tea she just drank, but fortunately, the fried fish on the table had already been eaten. At this moment, Klein sighed inwardly. Even though I know it's basically impossible to find the treasure, otherwise the various churches would have already done it with all the powerhouses they have. But when discussing such topics, I couldn't help but get excited. This is the charm of treasure. Even if it was a legend, I can attract many adventurers. Donna wiped her mouth and sat down like a lady, as though she wasn't the one who had lost her composure. The little boy Denton asked, still eager for more, Are you any other legend of treasure? Ellen looked at Cleves, indicating that he should answer. Cleves calmly drank a mountain of black tea and said in a deep voice, There are countless treasures at sea, the hidden lands of the elves, the missing pirate ships in the depths of the fog, the underwater cities sprawled with powerful monsters, the last secret trove of Emperor Roselle, and so on. The Emperor had already reached this level of leaving treasure and legends for others. No way. I want to learn more. I want to learn more about Emperor Roselle. So bad. So bad. How many would be there? The legend of the key of death might help Mr. Isaac regain more of his memories. Klein thought with curiosity and anticipation. Chapter 497, The Wall of Rewards. We're going to leave it there because we've been streaming for like 2 hours and Okay, good, because I want to learn more about him. So we've been streaming for 2 hours. We're gonna leave it there. It's 9:20. I think we're good for now. However, next stream is gonna be tomorrow at 7 o'clock because I just want to know what happens. You know, I just want to know what's gonna happen. I just want to keep going, and I feel like we didn't get as many chapters as I wanted to today. Not blaming anybody. I mean, it could be Harsh's fault. We'll see. I didn't get as far as I wanted to today because I do want to get to like blame your dyslexia. I blame my parents. Yeah. We'll just do that. But I'll leave it here and then we'll do another stream tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And we'll hopefully get, I don't know. We got 7 chapters today, we got 6 today. So 6 yesterday, 6 today. That's not too bad. Maybe we'll try and aim for like 10 tomorrow. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool if we could do 10. We'll be good. Other than that, I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna go look at all the clips and how about we don't talk about some of the stuff that happened on today's live? How about we leave that just our little secret, you know, our little secret. But we'll be good. Other than that, I'm gonna go. You guys have a great rest of your night. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you guys next time.